So hello students, we are going to study unit 2, that is structural organization in plants and animals. There are 3 chapters in this unit. Chapter 5, that is morphology of flowering plants, chapter 6, that is anatomy of flowering plants, and chapter 7, that is structural organization in animals. The description of the diverse form of life on earth was made only by observations, through naked eyes or later through magnifying lenses and microscopes. This description is mainly of gross structural features. It means both external and internal. In addition, observable and perceivable living phenomena were also recorded as part of this description. Before experimental biology, or more specifically physiology, was established as a part of biology, naturalists described only biology. Hence, biology remained as a natural history for a long time. The description by itself was amazing in terms of detail, while the initial reaction of the student would be boredom. One should keep in mind that the detailed description was utilized in the later day reductionist biology, where living processes drew more attention from scientists than the description of life forms and their structure. Hence, this description became meaningful and helpful in framing research questions in physiology and evolutionary biology. In the following chapters of this unit, the structural organization of plants and animals, including the structural basis of physiological or behavioral phenomena, is described. For convenience, this description of morphological and anatomical features is presented separately for plants and animals. Here it is given about a scientist, that is Catherine Isau. Catherine Isau was born in Ukraine in 1898. She studied agriculture and industry in Germany and received her doctorate in 1931 in United States. She reported in her early publication that the curly top virus spreads through a plant via the food conducting or phloem tissues. Dr. Isau's Plant Anatomy, published in 1954, took a dynamic developmental approach designed to enhance one's understanding of plant structure and an enormous impact worldwide, literally bringing about a revival of discipline. The Anatomy of Seed Plants by Catherine Isau was published in 1960. It was referred to as Webster's of Plant Biology. It is encyclopedic. In 1957, she was elected to the National Academy of Sciences, becoming the 6th woman to receive that honor. In addition to this prestigious award, she received the National Medal of Science from President George Bush in 1989. When Catherine Isau died in the year of 1997, Peter Raven, director of Anatomy and Morphology, Missouri Botanical Garden, remembered that she absolutely dominated the field of plant biology even at the age of 99. Here is chapter 5, Morphology of Flowering Plants. We will study the root, the stem, the leaf, the inflorescence, the flower, the fruit, the seed, semi-technical description of a typical flowering plant, description of some families. Some 9 things we are going to cover in this chapter. The wide range in the structure of higher plants will never fail to fascinate us. Even though the angiosperm shows such a large diversity in external structure or morphology, they are all characterized by presence of roots, stems and leaves, flowers and fruits. In chapter 2 and 3, we talked about classification of plants based on morphological and other characteristics. For any successful attempt at classification and at understanding a higher plant, or for that matter any living organism, we need to know standard technical terms and standard definitions. We also need to know about the possible variation in different parts found as adaptations of the plant to their environment. For example, adaptation to various habitats for protection, climbing, storage, etc. If you pull out any weed, you will see that all of them have roots, stems and leaves. They may be bearing flowers and fruits. The underground part of flowering plant is the root system, while the portion above the ground form the shoot system. Then the root. In majority of dicotyledonous plant, the direct elongation of the radicle leads to the formation of primary root, which grows inside the soil. It bears lateral roots, several orders that are referred to as secondary, tertiary, etc. roots. Sorry. The primary roots and its branches constitute the tap root system. As seen in the mustard plant, in monocotyledon plants, the primary root is short-lived and is replaced by a large number of roots. These roots originate from the base of the stem and constitute the fibrous root system, as seen in the wheat plant. In some plants like grass, monstera, and the banyan tree, roots arise from parts of the plant other than the radicle and are called adventitious roots. The main function of the root system are absorption of water and minerals from the soil, providing a proper anchorage to the plant parts, storing reserve food material, and synthesis of plant growth regulators. Reason of the root. The root is covered at the apex by a thimble-like structure called the root cap. It protects the tender apex of the root as it makes its way through the soil. A few millimeters above the root cap is the region of meristematic activity. The cells of this region are very small, thin-walled, and with a dense protoplasm. They divide rapidly. The cells proximal to this region undergo rapid elongation and enlargement and are responsible for the growth of the root in the length. This region is called the region of elongation. This region is the region of elongation. This is the root cap. The cells of the elongation zone gradually differentiate and mature. Hence, this zone proximal to the region of elongation is called region of maturation. This is the region of maturation. From this region, some of the epidermal cells form very fine and delicate thread-like structures called root hairs. These root hairs absorb water and minerals from the soil. The stem. What are the features that distinguish a stem from a root? The stem is the ascending part of the axis bearing branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits. It develops from the plumule of the embryo of a germinating seed. The stem bears nodes and internodes. The region of the stem where leaves are born are called nodes, while internodes are the portion between two nodes. The system bears buds, which may be terminal or axillary. Stem is generally green when young and later often become woody and dark brown. The main functions of the stem is spreading out branches bearing leaves, flowers, and fruits. It conducts water, minerals, and photosynthesis. Some stem perform the function of storage of food, support, and protection of vegetative propagation. The leaf. The leaf is lateral, generally flattened structure borne on the stem. It develops at the node and bears a bud in its axil. The axillary bud later develops into a branch. Leaves originate from two apical meristems and are arranged in an acropetal order. They are most important vegetative organ for photosynthesis. A typical leaf consists of three main parts: leaf base, petiole, and lamina. The leaf is attached to the stem by leaf base. This is leaf base, and may bear two lateral small leaf-like structure called stipules. In monocotyledon, the leaf base expands into a sheath covering the stem partially or wholly. In some leguminous plants, the leaf base may become swollen, which is called the pulvinus. The petiole help hold the blade to light. Long, thin, flexible petioles allow leaf blades to flutter in wind, thereby cooling the leaf and bringing fresh air to the leaf surface. The lamina or the leaf blade is a green expanded part of the leaf with veins and veinlets. There is usually a middle prominent vein which is known as the midrib. Veins provide rigidity to the leaf blade and act as a channel of transport for water, minerals, and food material. The shape, margin, apex, surface, and extent of incision of lamina varies in different leaves. Venation. There are mainly two types of venation. The arrangement of veins and the veinlets in the lamina of leaf is termed as venation. When the veinlets form a network and venation is termed as reticulate. When the veins run parallel to each other within the lamina, the venation is termed as parallel. Leaves of dicotyledon plant generally possess reticulate venation, while parallel venation is characteristic of most monocotyledons. Types of leaves. A leaf is said to be simple when its lamina is entire or when incised. The incision do not touch the midrib. When the incision of the lamina reach up to the midrib, breaking it into a number of leaflets, the leaf is called compound. A bud is present in the axil of petiole in both simple and compound leaves, but not in the axil of leaflets of the compound leaf. The compound leaves may be of two types. In a pinnately compound leaf, a number of leaflets are present on a common axis, the rachis, which represent the midrib on the leaf as in neem. In palmately compound leaves, the leaflets are attached at a common point. It means at the tip of petiole, as in silk cotton. Phyllotaxy. The next topic we are going to study is phyllotaxy. Phyllotaxy is the pattern of arrangement of leaves on the stem or a branch. This is usually of three types: alternate, opposite, and whorled. In alternate type of phyllotaxy, a single leaf arises at each node in alternate manner, as in China rose, mustard, and sunflower plants. In opposite type of a pair of leaves arise at each node and lie opposite to each other, and in calotropis and guava plants. If more than two leaves arise at a node and form a whorl, it is called whorled, as in Alstonia. The inflorescence. A flower is a modified shoot wherein the shoot apical meristem changes to floral meristem. Internode do not elongate and the axis gets condensed. The apex produces different kinds of floral appendages laterally at successive nodes instead of leaves. When a shoot tip transforms into a flower, it is always solitary. The arrangement of flower on the floral axis is termed as inflorescence, depending on whether the apex gets developed into a flower or continues to grow. Two major types of inflorescence are defined: racemose and cymose. In racemose type of inflorescences, the main axis continues to grow. The flowers are borne laterally in the acropetal succession. In cymose type of inflorescence, the main axis terminates in a flower, hence is limited in growth. The flowers are borne in a basipetal order. The flower. The flower is a reproductive unit in the angiosperms. It is meant for sexual reproduction. A typical flower has four different kinds of whorls arranged successively on the swollen end of the stalk or pedicel, called thalamus or receptacle. These are calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Calyx and corolla are accessory organs, while androecium and gynoecium are reproductive organs. In some flowers like lily, the calyx and corolla are not distinct and are termed as perianth. When a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, it is bisexual. But if a flower has only asexual or only androecium or only gynoecium, it is termed as unisexual. Here it is written: a flower having either only stamens or only carpels is a unisexual. In symmetry, the flower may be actinomorphic radial symmetry or zygomorphic bilateral symmetry. When a flower can be divided into two equal radial halves in any radial plane passing through the center, it is said to be actinomorphic. Example: mustard, datura, chili. When it can be divided into two similar halves on a particular vertical plane, it is zygomorphic. For example, pea, gulmohar, bean, cassia, etc. A flower is asymmetric irregular if it cannot be divided into two similar halves by any vertical plane passing through the center, as in canna. A flower may be trimerous, tetramerous, and pentamerous when the floral appendages are in multiple of 3, 4, 5 respectively. Flowers with bracts, the reduced leaves found at the base of the pedicel, are called bracteate, and those without bracts are called ebracteate. Based on the position of calyx, corolla, and androecium in respect of the ovary on thalamus, the flower are described as hypogynous or perigynous and epigynous. In the hypogynous flower, the gynoecium occupies the highest position, while the other parts are situated below it. The ovary in such flowers is said to be superior, if for example mustard, china rose, and brinjal. If gynoecium is situated in the center and the other parts of flower are located on the rim of thalamus, almost at the same level, it is called perigynous. Perigynous. The ovary here is said to be half inferior. For example, plum, rose, peach. In epigynous flowers, the margin of the thalamus grows upward, enclosing the ovary completely and getting fused with it. The other parts of flower rise above the ovary, hence the ovary is said to be inferior, as in flowers of guava and cucumber and the ray florets of sunflower. Parts of flower. There are some calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. Each flower normally has 4 floral whorls, that are calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. First is calyx. The calyx is the outermost whorl of the flower and the member are called sepals. Generally, sepals are green, leaf-like, and protect the flower in the bud stage and also do photosynthesis. But the calyx may be gamosepalous, means sepals united, or polysepalous, means sepals are free. Corolla. Corolla is composed of petals. Petals are usually brightly colored to attract insects for pollination. Like calyx, corolla may also be gamopetalous and polypetalous. Gamopetalous means petals are united and polypetalous means petals are free. The shape and color of corolla varies greatly in plants. Corolla may be tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped, or wheel-shaped. Aestivation. The mode of arrangement of sepals or petals in floral bud with respect to the other members of the same whorl is known as aestivation. The main types of aestivation are valvate, twisted, imbricate, and vexillary. When sepals or petals in whorl just touch one another at the margin without overlapping, as in calotropes, it is said to be valvate. If one margin of the appendages overlap that of the next one, so on as in china rose, lady's finger, and cotton, it is called twisted. If the margins of sepals and petals overlap one another but not in any particular direction, as in cassia and gulmohar, the aestivation is called imbricate. In pea and bean flower, there are 5 petals. The largest overlaps the 2 lateral petals, which in turn overlap the 2 smallest anterior petals. This type of aestivation is known as vexillary or papilionaceous. Androecium. Androecium is composed of stamens. Each stamen, which represents the male reproductive organ, consists of a stalk and a filament and an anther. Each anther is usually bilobed and each lobe has 2 chambers. The pollen sacs. The pollen grains are produced in pollen sacs. A sterile stamen is called staminode. Stamens of flowers may be united with other members such as petals or among themselves. When stamens are attached to the petals, they are epipetalous, as in brinjal, or epiphyllous when attached to the perianth, as in flowers of lily. The stamens in a flower may either remain free, polyandrous, or may be united in varying degrees. The stamens may be united into one bunch or one bundle, as in china rose, and they are called monoidal fuss, or 2 bundles, diadelphous, as in pea, or into more than 2 bundles, polyadelphous, as in citrus. There may be variation in the length of filament within a flower, as in salvia and mustard. Gynoecium. Gynoecium is a female reproductive part of the flower and is made up of the 1 or more carpels. A carpel consists of 3 parts, namely stigma, style, and ovary. Ovary is the enlarged basal part on which lies the elongated tube, the style. The style connects the ovary to the stigma. The stigma is usually at the tip of the style and is more receptive surface and it is a receptive surface for pollen grains. Each ovary bears one or more ovules attached to a flattened cushion-like placenta. When more than one carpel is present, they may be free, as in lotus and rose, and are called echocarpus. They are termed as syncarpus when carpels are fused, as in mustard and tomato. After fertilization, the ovules develop into seed and the ovary matures into fruit. Placentation. The arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. The placentation are of different types, namely marginal, axial, parietal, basal, central, free central. In marginal placentation, the placenta forms a ridge along the ventral structure of the ovary, and the ovules are borne on this ridge, forming two rows, as in P. When the placenta is axial and the ovules are attached to it in multilocular ovary, the placentation is said to be axial, as in China, rose, tomato, and lemon. In parietal placentation, the ovules develop on the inner wall of the ovary or peripheral part. Ovary is one-chambered, but it becomes two-chambered due to the formation of the false septum, for example, mustard and ergemone. When the ovules are borne on central axis and septa are absent, as in dianthus and primrose, the placentation is called free central. In basal placentation, the placenta develops at the base of ovary and a single ovule is attached to it, as in sunflower, marigold. The fruit. The fruit is a characteristic feature of flowering plant. It is a mature or ripened ovary developed after fertilization. If a fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, it is called parthenocarpic fruit. When a fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, it is called parthenocarpic fruit. Generally, the fruit consists of a wall or pericarp and seeds. The pericarp may be dry or fleshy. When pericarp is thick and fleshy, it is differentiated into outer epicarp, the middle mesocarp, and the inner endocarp. In mango and coconut, the fruit is known as drip. They develop from monocarpellary superior ovaries and are one-seeded. In mango, the pericarp is well differentiated in a outer thin epicarp, the middle fleshy edible mesocarp, and an inner stony hard endocarp. This is seed, this is mesocarp, this is epicarp, and this is endocarp. In coconut, which is also drip, the mesocarp is fibrous. This is mesocarp, the fibrous hairs. The seed. The ovules after fertilization develop into seeds. A seed is made up of seed coat and an embryo. The embryo is made up of radical and embryonal axis and one of two cotyledons, as in gram and pea. A structure of dicotyledon seed. The outermost covering of seed is the seed coat. The seed coat has two layers, the outer testa and the inner tegmen. The hilum is a scar on the seed coat through which the developing seeds were attached to the fruit. Above the hilum is a small pore called the micropyle. Within the seed coat is the embryo consisting of an embryonal axis and two cotyledons. The cotyledons are often fleshy and full of reserve food materials. At the two ends of the embryonal axis are present the radical and the plumule. In some seeds such as castor, the endosperm formed as a result of double fertilization is a food storing tissue and called endospermic seed. In plants such as bean, gram and pea, the endosperm is not present in mature seeds, and such seeds are called non-endospermous. Structure of monocotyledon seeds. Generally, the monocotyledonous seeds are endospermic, but some, as in orchids, are non-endospermic. In the seeds of cereals such as maize, the seed coat is membranous and generally fused with the fruit wall. The endosperm is bulky and stores food. The outer covering of endosperm separates the embryo by a proteinous layer called aleuron layer. The embryo is small and situated in a groove at one end of the endosperm. It consists of a large shield-shaped cotyledon known as scutellum and a short axis with the plumule and the radicle. The plumule and radicle are enclosed in sheaths which are coleoptile and coleorhiza respectively. Semi-technical description of a typical flowering plant. Various morphological features are used to describe a flowering plant. The description has to be brief, in simple and scientific language, and presented in a proper sequence. The plant is described beginning with its habit, vegetative characters, roots, stem and leaves, and then floral character, inflorescence and flower plants parts. After describing various parts of plant, a floral diagram and a floral formula are presented. The floral formula is represented by some symbols. In the floral formula, BR stands for bractate, K stands for calyx, C for corolla, P for perianth, A for endoecium, G for gynoecium. This type of G for superior ovary, this type of G for inferior ovary, this for male, this for female, this for bisexual plant, this for actinomorphic, and this percentage sign for zygomorphic nature of flowers. Fusion is indicated by enclosing the figure within bracket and adhesion by a line drawn above the symbols of floral plant. A floral diagram provides information about the number of parts of flower, their arrangement and the relation they have with one another. The position of the mother axis with respect to the flower is represented by a dot on the top of floral diagrams. Calyx, corolla, endoecium and gynoecium are drawn in successive whorls, calyx being the outermost and the gynoecium being in the center. Floral formula also shows cohesion and adhesion within the part of whorls and between whorls. The floral diagram and floral formula in figure 5.16 represent on mustard plant family Brassicaceae. Next is Solanaceae. It is a large family commonly called the potato family. It is widely distributed in tropics, subtropics, and even temperate zones. Vegetative character: plant mostly herbs, shrubs, or really small trees. Stems, leaves, and some floral characters are given. Herbaceous, rarely woody, aerial, erect, cylindrical, branched, solid or hollow, hairy or glabrous. Underground stem in potato, Solanum tuberosa. Leaves: alternate, simple, rarely pinnately compound, exstipulate, venation reticulate. Some floral characters like inflorescence, flower, calyx, corolla, endoecium, gynoecium, fruit, seed, floral formula. Economic importance: inflorescence, solitary. Inflorescence is solitary, axillary or cymose as in Solanum. Flowers are bisexual and actinomorphic. Calyx is sepals are 5 united, persistence, velvet estivation. Corolla petals are 5 united, velvet estivation. Endoecium stamens are 5 and epipetalous. Gynoecium, bicarpellary, obligately placed. Syncorpus, ovary superior, bilocular. Placenta swollen with many ovules, exiled. Fruits are berry or capsule. Seeds many, endospermous. Floral formula is this, male, and this is given. Economic importance: many plants belonging to this family are source of food, brinjal, spice, medicine, fumigatory and ornamentals. Here our chapter is finished. So thank you.